Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mark Roden, and today we are going to be doing another good, bad, and ugly, this time on the Mazda RX-8. Somebody recommended doing the Mazda RX-8. I said, hello, my name is Mark. I got you covered, my friendo. So today, that's what we're doing. I'm going to read off my little list here real quick, so bear with me. But the way that these vids work is first I go over everything that you need to know. Then I go over how it does in certain forms of motorsports, or just what the community does with it in general. Then I go over the good, the bad, and the ugly. Good is just things that are good about it. Bad are kind of things that, you know, you can take it or leave it. If it affects you, it affects you. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And then ugly are problems that you're going to have to address with the car. And then finally, I give my final thoughts on whether or not I think you should buy the car depending on your current situation. And I have 3, 4, maybe even 5 different situations. There's something like daily driver, car guy, daily driver, project car, Sunday cruiser. I think that's it. So I think 4. And I tell you whether or not I think it's a good choice for you or not. But without further ado, let's go right into the list. All right, so the Mazda RX-8, when was it made, Mark? When was the Mazda RX-8 around? It was made through the years of 2003 to 2012, and obviously this is its only generation. They never made another RX-8. This is the first gen, and it's the only gen. As far as the trim levels go, I honestly kind of just got a little lazy with this, if I'm being a hundo P, because there are a whole lot of options, but pretty much all of them only changed minor things, like one would have a sunroof, or one would have leather seats. And so I didn't want to go over every single one, and pretty much the horsepower remained the same around the entire time. The car, no matter what trim level you get comes with a 1.3 liter 2 rotary engine, and at first it made 232 horsepower at launch and remained that way up until the end of the runtime. However, in some countries, some models had less at 212 horsepower, and some models even had only 189 horsepower. So obviously look at exactly which one you're getting before you go look at the car, just let you know exactly how much horsepower, exactly what trim level, exactly what comes in that trim level that you're getting is, because it's very confusing with the RX-8 trim levels, but pretty much most of them honestly don't matter. It's like the 350Z enthusiast package versus the base package. It didn't really come with anything worth the extra money. For the body styles, it is obviously only offered as a 4-door coupe, and the doors are really cool. They open up like truck doors. The drivetrain, it is rear-wheel drive only. There is no all-wheel drive. There is no freaking front-wheel drive, obviously. It's just a rear-wheel drive car. The transmissions, it is available as an automatic or a manual. I would recommend getting the manual. It's a sports car. The automatic isn't bad per se, because it's a 2003 sports car, but it is, you know, it's more fun to drive the manual. The price is obviously a used car nowadays, so it depends on which one that you're getting, but I seen them anywhere from 3K for a really bad one to 8K for a pretty good one that is honestly worth the money. It honestly just depends on where you are, what your budget is, what you're looking for out of the car. But yeah, around the 5K mark is where I would say the average is. For the reliability and the gas mileage, obviously, we all know the RX-8 is hard to keep reliable. It does get a 21 miles per gallon combined, which is also pretty sad, but the reliability is not there. It really is not a daily driver. Let's make that clear right away before we get into any other parts of the videos. If you're thinking about getting an RX-8 as a daily driver, don't. It is not unreliable, but it's hard to keep it reliable, if that makes any sense. With rotary engines, you have to do special things to them. You have to add special fuel to them. You have to do weird maintenance to them that you don't have to do on a normal car, and most people are not going to do that, causing them to be unreliable as hell, and then people complain about them. But now let's get into the motorsports side of things. What people tend to do with these cars when building them, where they go when they want to show all their colors. Drifting. It's used quite a bit actually nowadays. It's cheap in a rear-wheel drive Japanese car with a rotary in it. Yeah, people are using these things. Literally like 5 years ago, these were not used that much. And the reason why is because all the cars were cheap back then. But now that the 240SXs, the 350Zs, IS300s, all the drift boys are flying up in price, people just want a cheap car to get into to drift. And the RX-8 is always there for them with opening arms. For rally / off-road racing, it's really not used very often. It has been before in the past, but since it is a rear-wheel drive Japanese sports car, yeah, it's not their first choice. For street racing, again, it's not seen that often either. They do have reliability issues, so I believe that's the reason why, but I honestly just believe that it's because people haven't given them a chance yet. Once people start to open up to these cars a little bit more, I do expect to see more like street builds. A lot of FD RX-7s are turned into street cars nowadays, so it really makes no sense to me why they don't do it with the RX-8s. For track racing, it is very dominant here. The RX rotary line from Mazda always has been, whether it's the RX-7s, the RX-3s, the RX-8s. they're always very dominant at track racing, so expect to see these at your local track. For stance/show, obviously it's seen quite a bit because it's a Japanese sports car. Almost any Japanese sports car nowadays is turned into a stance car. But now let's get into the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's start with the good, which are, again, just things that are dandy about the car, just great about the car. First off is the sound. I usually put the sound in the bad so that I can let other people decide whether or not they think it sounds good or not. But, I mean, come on. It's a freaking rotary-powered car. It's gonna sound good, so I'm putting it here. Here's a clip anyway. Next is the doors are really cool. They open up like truck doors in a sports car. That's awesome. Now, even though they are cool, it does cause for some issues because let's say, if you're in an accident in an RX-8, just God forbid, obviously I don't wish you do, but if you are in an accident in an RX-8 and let's say the car tips over, well, the two people in the front died and you're in the back. They have to open their doors before you can open your door in order to get out. It is a safety issue, but they look really cool. Next is they do have decent cup holders. They're a 2003 car and they're pretty big, so of course the cup holders are also going to be pretty large, and that's pretty cool. Next is they have these cool little like Dorito headrests. In the headrests of the seats, they're shaped like the rotary, and the rotary, as we all know, is a triangle, so it looks like a Dorito, and it's awesome. Okay, the headrests in the RX-8 look really cool. Next is the car is very unique, especially if you're building this car for any sort of specific build. If you're doing a drift build, rally build, something like that, the car is unique. It's different. Not a lot of people build these things, and obviously the reason is quite obvious, but it's still really cool to see when these are built well. Next is the car handles very well. Yes, it's a big car, and you might think to yourself, well, it looks too heavy. That's not the case. Again, these RX cars have always been really, really focused on handling well, and that is the exact same way with the RX-8. These cars handle like little monsters. Next is, since it doesn't really have a set path that you have to go on, because like let's say you buy an S13, well, most likely you're gonna turn it into a drift car because everybody else does. So it already has like a whole path for you to follow. Since this doesn't, it can be turned into absolutely anything. You can do whatever you want with this car, and you have the world to do it with, and you're gonna have tips from everybody because there's not just a one set of people following the same cookie cutter builds with this car. And finally, for the good, is it is incredibly cheap to buy. These cars are underrated, I would say, but at the same time perfectly rated. It's kind of weird to say, but they're cheap. They are cheap to buy for a 230 horsepower rear wheel drive manual transmission Japanese sports car from the early 2000s. You're not getting much cheaper than this. There's all these cars out there nowadays are running over 5K all day every day, and the RX-8 is still sitting under that 5K mark. So but now let's get into the bad. And again, these are things that are technically bad, yes, but they're not like horrible, like you're gonna run away, you have to run away from the car if you don't like it. It just depends on whether or not it affects you or not. First off is these cars are underrated. Therefore, most people may run away from the platform, leaving a very small community. If you're the type of person that uses the community to your advantage when you have problems with the car, when you want to make a choice on the car, you might have issues with this. I know I'm one of those people. I bought an Integra and a 350Z, and the reason why is because both of them have an insane community of a bunch of helpful people out there. The RX-8 doesn't really have that. Next is the small aftermarket support. Again, since the car's underrated and it doesn't get modified a lot, not a lot of companies make parts for it. That makes sense. It still is a Japanese car, so you're still going to have quite a bit of parts for it if you need them, but it's not going to be as much as something else. Just keep that in mind. Next is it does have questionable looks. A lot of people have said the RX-8 is ugly, and I can see where they're coming from. I personally think it looks pretty good. I don't think it's a break your neck worthy car, but I think it looks pretty decent. That is obviously completely up to you though. Next is the car is rear wheel drive only. I mean, if I hadn't already made it clear that this is not a daily driver, here you go. If you live in a winter area, it only has rear wheel drive. Get used to driving rear wheel drive in the snow. Next is it has barely any space in the back seat. It's a freaking coupe, buddy. Even though it has the cool doors, it obviously is not going to have a lot of space. If you are buying any sort of two-door coupe car, immediately just throw the idea of having a lot of space in the back seat out the window, because that doesn't happen anymore. And next is parts are not cheap. It's a very rare car and an even more rare engine in the car. Do not expect these things to be just popping up at you. If you went from like a Honda to this car, you are going to have a bad day. these cars do not have parts like a Corolla does. So when you buy a part for this car, expect to be either waiting a long time or paying a lot of money to get it. And finally, for the bad, is you are going to get a little bit roasted by the car community for choosing an unreliable car that's not the most popular option out there. But who cares, man? Okay, it is your life, your decision. If you want an RX-8 and you like it, why should you worry about what the car community thinks? I put this here just in case there is somebody that really does care a lot about other people's opinions, but I highly recommend not giving a hootenanny about whether or not these people like your car. But now let's get into the ugly, and again, these are things that are issues with the car that you will have to address one day, and the obvious one is its engine reliability. Rotaries themselves aren't horribly unreliable. However, like I said before, you need to constantly keep up on this tedious maintenance or they are going to turn into an unreliable car. There's a reason that nobody buys these anymore, sadly. I like the RX-8, and I hate saying this, but it is a waste of time, if that makes any sense. It's just, you're doing a lot of extra work for a car to keep the car running when you could be doing all that work to turn the car into something crazier, and it does kind of feel annoying sometimes, I would imagine. I obviously have never owned the car, but I would imagine that it feels quite annoying. On top of that, even getting out of the car and filling it up with gas is a process in a rotary powered car. So just keep that in mind. It is definitely something to steer clear from if you're a first-time car buyer, or if you're somebody with low patience, or if you are somebody that's really busy all the time. It's going to take a lot of time to keep this car running. And finally, for the ugly, is the automatic transmission is pretty slow. Just go with the manual. It's not worth it, okay? I don't understand why anybody even picks automatics in any of these older Japanese cars, but they do. So just go with the manual. But now let's get into my final thoughts on the car and whether or not I think you should buy it. Let's go over the ideas first. If you're looking for a daily driver, this is a horrible option. Reliability is scary, and on top of that, it is a rear-wheel drive sports car with not that much space. No, it's not a good daily driver. It really isn't. Could you turn it into a daily driver? Probably, but it gets 21 miles per gallon. Okay, there's just really no point in choosing this car for a daily driver. Now, if you only have this car and it's the only car you can buy at the time, then yeah, it can be a daily driver. You're just gonna have to take a little bit of a time to do it. But I highly recommend, if you have the option yourself to buy a daily, not to buy this. For a car guy daily, which is massively different from a normal daily driver because you're a car guy, you want something that's kind of cool. It's still a bad option. There's plenty of more fun, cool cars to daily drive that aren't going to cost you as much stress. The first one that pops into my mind is Civic SIs, WRXs, GTIs. Things like those are going to give you a lot less stress and still be just as fun, if not more fun, than the RX-8. And so the RX-8 I recommend staying away from no matter what kind of person you are if you're looking for a daily driver. For a Sunday cruiser, this is a very good option. Driving a car like this once a week to sort of special events and meets is something that people definitely do, and it makes sense why. It almost has the reliability of a supercar, so why not treat it like a supercar? For the race car / project car people, this is by far the best option. It is a massive learning curve going from normal engines to rotaries, but once you get it right, it's going to pay off. And on top of that, I feel like people that like project cars and like building those things kind of like that challenge anyway, so it might be a good option for you. If you have already built like a bunch of cool cars in the past and you want to try something new and take something on that you didn't think you could do before, this is obviously there for you, and it pays off. It's a really cool car to see once it's fully built. The only problem is it takes a lot of time to build it. But if you are a project car, you're turning it into a race car, then you have that time. So definitely, think about this for your next car if you're a project car kind of guy. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's video of the good, the bad, and the ugly on the Mazda RX-8. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. Let me know what other videos that you'd like to see in the comment section below. Let me know what other good, bad, and uglies you'd like to see, because a lot of people think that I just choose these good, bad, and uglies off the top of my head. That's not the case. The only way I do a good, bad, and ugly is if somebody comments a car that they want to see in a good, bad, and ugly, then I'll do that car. There's usually a lot of comments though, so I do have to pick between them, so it kind of is my personal opinion on what the next video will be. But still, like, I use the comments. I don't just go off of my own ideas. So anyway, yeah, let me know what other cars you'd like to see. That's the only way you're going to get any sort of potential of seeing your car on this video. And thank you so much for watching. Das Vidania, and have a nice